The Canadian Light Source in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan is located on Treaty 6 land in the traditional territories of the Nihilak, Cree, Anishinaabe, Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota nations, and the homeland of the Métis. As educators, we respect Indigenous ways of knowing and oral traditions. We dedicate ourselves to moving forward in the spirit of partnership, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining in with our career-focused interviews today. We are interviewing Patti Cason-Kent. And Patricia, the first question I'm going to ask is for you to introduce yourself and tell us about the job or what your title is and what is it that you do at the Canadian Light Source?
Okay, well, my name is Patti Cason-Kent. Most people know me by Patti. I'm a mechanical designer in the engineering department for the machine division. So everything that you see in our building, whether it is a piece of machinery, whether it's a wall, it's all been drawn by somebody in the CAD department. In my background, you can see the project that I'm working on. It's called a flush cart. I also am the Occupational Health and Safety Committee chair. And I also sit on the diversity committee. So those they don't take up a majority of my time, but my majority of my time is spent working with the scientists, the engineers on various projects. So any given day, I can have 4 or 5 projects on the go in various stages. Hopefully the one that we see behind us will be finished early next week. Yeah, that's me.
So at the Canadian Light Source, we have very unique needs. Like we can't just go to Home Hardware and buy some of the materials or the items that we need. So how does AutoCAD, how do you create new things? Like what do you use and do?
So we use a computer-assisted drafting program. I draw in both 2D, and in three-dimensional. As you can see in the background, the picture behind me is, you can see the three-dimensional part of it. We use Inventor as the program that we use. So we draw whatever widget we need to draw. We draw up the shop plans, and then the shop plans will go to, we have machinists. I couldn't think of the word. We have machinists. We have machinists who will machine various parts. We have a great tech team who will put together what we've designed. We'll send stuff off to shipping and receiving and they will order some of the parts that we need. The project that I'm working on behind me has a lot of what we call purchase parts. So they need to come in before they can be built.
So what kind of course did you take or what kind of post-secondary schooling did you take to learn how to do this?
So I went and the Polytech here in Saskatoon when it was still c.l.s. I took the CAD/CAM engineering program. It's a 2-year program which teaches you how to draw. Also teaches physics and math and all of the things that you need in your day-to-day life, being working as a draftsperson. Most of the other CAD staff that we have done the mechanical CAD staff that we have taken the CAD/CAM engineering program or the MECTech program through Polytech.
Oh, so did you always know you wanted to be an AutoCAD designer, or how? Tell me about a little bit of your timeline of your career that you did.
My timeline, boy, I sure wish when I finished high school, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. Although I wouldn't give up what I did do. I went to university. I have a degree in archaeology. My focus is Roman archaeology. I spent at least 4 summers working in Israel on an excavation until I had kids. And once I had kids, traveling to other parts of the world where it was difficult. And I spent a number of years working retail. And one day I had a manager who I had applied for one of the manager positions, and he said, you know, you're way too important in the position you're in. I was running a department, and I said to him, okay, well, pay me what you pay the managers. And he said, unfortunately, I can't do that. Somebody would know. I said, well, you know what? I'm smarter than this. And I went and talked to a bunch of guidance counselors. And at 42, I went back to school. So it's never too late to go back to school. I graduated in the top 5% of the class and started here right out of school. And I've been here almost 13 years.
That's an awesome story. So now you and I know each other.
Yeah.
And so you are a First Nations woman as well.
I am.
And a mother.
And a mother. I have 3 children.
Right. So tell me a little bit about what is it like to go through those programs with a different perspective, or maybe looking at as a woman, maybe being in a male-dominated classrooms or job places. What was that like to experience?
It was a little bit difficult. I remember coming home from school the very first day of school and looking at my husband and saying, I'm not the oldest one in the class and I'm not the only girl. So there were 24 of us that started the program. We had 3 girls in the program, and ages ranged from 18 to 56. So it was a great dynamic group. Made wonderful friends over the 2 years that we went to school with. It wasn't easy. I spent, probably from 7 a.m. in the morning until they kicked me out of the lab at night, going to school, and then weekends were spent doing homework and catching up with my kids.
So what are some of the things that you would do to help balance your work life scenario? How did you keep yourself sane during balancing home life and school and work?
I like to be outside. I do a lot of hiking and camping, and I volunteer in a couple of different places. I volunteer as a scout leader, so that's a great outlet. Gets rid of the energy, built up energy. I also volunteer with the Canadian GBS CIDP Foundation, which is the Guillain-Barré and chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, as a caregiver volunteer. My husband developed CIDP about 10 years ago, and we found that the foundation was so very helpful with us learning that we weren't alone, that we both wanted to give back as we reach a new normal.
Right. So that brings up an awesome like thinking is, so we are kind of conditioned to think that our jobs have to be 9 to 5 and you put in this overtime if you have extra projects to do. But what is it like to have a special needs like family member where maybe your full-time or your job hours have to alter to make it work for your family?
We're very, very lucky where we work, as you probably already know. When I need to, my husband doesn't drive. So if he needs to go to an appointment, I can take the time off. I can either take it off and work around it. I like to be at his appointments, just having that second ear, because you don't always catch everything.
I think this is so valuable to share with other individuals out there that are facing those same challenges of if they have a child or a loved one or whatever it is, that we do have to balance our work and our personal life. And now that I'm really touching on some emotions, I want you to get into this really amazing story. So again, you found this awesome career in the science world, but you also have an amazing story of you found love in the science world.
Oh, dear.
So share your story. How did you and your husband meet?
So my husband and I met, I was in grade 10, I think. Yeah, grade 10, at the Regional Science Fair. I did a project on hydroponics and he was doing a project on robotics. And the evening of the judging, my water pump blew up and sprayed water all over everything. Well, tried to rescue things. The part of the all over everything was all over my husband, what ended up being my husband. We've been together for 40 years. We laugh about it often. I actually just bought myself a tower, a hydroponic tower for my house. And he wasn't too sure about it. He said, well, what if the pump blows up? So it's becoming a running joke.
That is such an amazing story. You find love in science as well. I love that.
Yeah.
So what would be some of the best interview or job application advice that you would give to someone applying to a position at the Canadian Light Source?
Be yourself. Really, be yourself. Don't try and be really, really uptight. I remember my interview here, and at one point it really felt like the interview had gone off the rails. And I went kind of, took that deep breath and decided that, okay, I'm just going to, this interview is probably not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to practice having an interview. And I did. And a couple months later, I got a phone call and they said, you know what? You're exactly what we're looking for.
Awesome.
So
Great advice.
Be yourself. Don't try and don't be overly nervous. Everybody here is so wonderful.
I think that's great advice. So to summarize, so what I've heard from you is that the career that you start off with or the education you start off with may not be where you end up in life. However, those changes are good and it's good to adapt to those. And that you're able to, if you're open with your employer, balance and have a good balance for your work life, your home life, and all of just life in general, making it all work, and to be yourself and just match yourself to your employer, and it will work out in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I love the fact that there's 9 of us in the mechanical CAD department, and I am one of the 3 that was hired in 2008, and we are the last last employees hired in the mechanical CAD department. So the 9 of us have been here for greater than 13 years.
You guys are a good, strong team over there.
We are.
Okay, so our last question is, what advice, if you could go back, what advice would you give 18-year-old Patricia or Patti? What advice would you give a young person starting out as to how to get going?
Find something you love and find a way to do it. So I took drafting in high school. I really enjoyed it, but I went on to do other things. Not that I'd ever say that what I did wasn't what I needed to do. It's part of your life journey, but if it's not working, feel free to go and try something else. When I went to see the guidance counselor, definitely see a guidance counselor. When I went to see the guidance counselor before I started the CAD/CAM program, we talked about what I was interested in, and I had a great guidance counselor. She was awesome, and so she said, "You're really, really interested in history." She said, "You'd make a fantastic teacher. You should go into teaching." And I said, "Well, unfortunately, we're pretty set and stable in where we are, and I don't want 4 years of 4 years of student loans with no definite possibility of a job." In the early 2000s, the CAD/CAM program was they were looking for people to do the work. My background, archaeology, physical anthropology, so I signed up for a waiting list on the X-ray technician program and on the CAD/CAM engineering program. Because I was female, so female in a non-traditional trade, they quite often, different departments will hold seats for these people. I was also a mature student at 42, and didn't know it at the time, but they hold seats for Aboriginal students as well. So I figured I was going to be on a couple-year waiting list, and within 3 weeks of applying, I was starting school. So I didn't really have a chance to second guess myself, and so happy that I did. So happy that I did. I love working here. I remember in the 80s when they were working on the what was c.l.s then. My dad did some construction work with the c.l.s. I said, "Oh, this looks so fun. This looks so interesting." And then when they were building the light source, I went, "So how does somebody get to work here? This is so cool." And after 13 years, I still walk through the facility some days and go, "Wow, I work here," which is just a great feeling.
That's an amazing process to way of thinking of, you see some place that fascinates you, and how can I get to work in there? I think that's a really good basis for launching, for sure. So what is the most unique thing that you've ever made at the Canadian Light Source? Or what's the item that you're most proud of?
Item I'm most proud of? I'm kind of proud of all of them. Yeah, wow, good question. There's a set of stairs in the Beamet area that help when it's the large animal stage, and it rises up and down. And so I have a set of stairs that I built so that depending on what level the platform's at, you can get down there safely. So that's probably one of my favorites. I also did a little teeny tiny cube that was a crystal that got sent off somewhere and was etched. And it's one of the things that I find interesting about what we do, because you're looking at a computer screen a lot of the times. And so something that could be this small on your screen is very big, and then it comes in and you go, wow. Or like the cart behind me, when it's on my screen, it's pretty little, but it's over 6 feet tall.
Wow. Yeah, so it must be exciting to see your end product that you produce.
It is kind of cool to see the end product at the end of the day.
Thank you very much for sharing your bright, shiny star story with us.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you, Patti.
You're welcome.